There, a very good evening and a warm welcome to the program. This is the big story right here on KTN News. My name is Yusuf Ibrahim, standing in for Yvonne Okwara. Now tonight, many people in this country, if not all, are now more concerned about their citizenship than ever before. This is after one of the most cantankerous politician and lawyer, Miguna Miguna, was deported to Canada, with the Ministry of Interior and Coordination of Government saying he is not a Kenyan. Miguna was arrested on Friday last week after police officers stormed his Runda home at dawn. Now, he remained in police custody until the deportation last night, despite the courts ordering his release on bond severally. Now, Miguna, who was born in Kisumu County, was facing charges in relation to organizing and consenting to swear in Raila Odinga, that is in January 30th. Now, Miguna once worked as an advisor to the then Prime Minister Raila Odinga, and as soon as last year unsuccessfully vied for the gubernatorial position right in the capital, Nairobi. It is also on record that Miguna joined University of Nairobi in 1987 before he fled to Canada. The deportation of Miguna was not only a shocker to many, but also attracted varied views on citizenship and how fast it can be lost. And that is the big story tonight. And to begin the show tonight, let's listen in to the man at the heart of the story, that is Miguna Miguna. He spoke to Radio France International today while in Amsterdam en route to Canada. It was his first media interview since he was arrested 5 days ago. Let's listen into that.
You know, as you all are aware, I was abducted from my house last Friday by people who did not identify themselves as the police. They detonated a device at the gate and at the front entrance of my house. There were more than 30 heavily armed men. They eventually took me away from my home. They did not advise me who they were. They did not say why they were taking me away from home or where they were taking me. They kept me in communicado detention from that day up to yesterday evening, when they took me to the airport and forced me to board a KLM flight to Amsterdam to Toronto.
So you were held in your own home?
No, they abducted me from my own home.
And where did they take you to?
They took me to all manner of locations. They took me to at least 6 police stations. The first station was Kiambu Police Station. The second one was Githunguri Police Station. The third one was Lari Police Station. The fourth one was Inland Container Depot Police Station. The fifth one was now the airport. But in between, they took me to Kajiado, purporting that I was supposed to go there and answer charges. When the judge ordered them yesterday to take me to court in Nairobi, they took me to the runway at Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, kept me there for more than 5 hours until the flight left.
And did they tell you what charges they were planning to lay against you?
Well, at first they claimed that because I am the one who commissioned the oath of Raila Odinga as the people's president on the 30th of January, they said I assisted Raila Odinga commit a capital offense, which is treason. But then, because they had kept me in communicado, I had no access to a lawyer, did not know what was happening. I told them I cannot take the plea. I cannot even sign their statement because it was incomprehensible to me how, as a lawyer, commissioning an oath, which I'm licensed to do, I had committed capital offense. So then they turned around and said, look, but you are also a self-proclaimed member of an organized criminal group called NRM. I told them, well, NRM is not an organized group. It's a movement. It's an idea. And NRM, the Ugandan organization, is the one you have banned, not NRM Kenya. And there is no proof that I'm a member. In any event, I'm not going to sign your charge. So then they turned around and they said, I was in Kenya illegally and I'm not a Kenyan. and they deported me.
Of course, there is Miguna Miguna's interview earlier with the BBC and not RFI. Apologies for that. And he's on record having said that I've never, ever renounced my Kenyan citizenship and will never do that. I've never even contemplated it. Now, well, Mwenda Njoka, the spokesman for the Ministry of Interior and Coordination of National Government, told KTN News earlier today that Miguna was indeed not a Kenyan national. He spoke to Akisa Wandera. Let's listen into that first. Well, as we prepare for that interview that was conducted by Akisa with regards to that statement made by Mwenda Njoka, let's go through some of the statement that was released by the government of Kenya with regards to Miguna's citizenship. And they're saying that Miguna fled Kenya in 1988 and he was not a Kenyan and had to be deported to his country of origin, that is Canada. The statement read in part that as Miguna fled Kenya in 1988 using travel documents provided by a foreign country. Thereafter, he acquired Canadian citizenship and has remained a Canadian citizen since then. The statement continues reading that under the repealed constitution, Kenyan citizens were allowed only one nationality. Kenyan citizens who acquired other nationalities automatically lost their Kenyan citizenship. The statement continues reading, without following the requisite legal process, the Minister for Immigration, the late Otieno Kajwang, ordered that Miguna be issued with a Kenyan passport in the year 2009 when he was working as an advisor to the then Prime Minister Raila Odinga. Now, the statement still continues saying prior to being illegally issued with a Kenyan passport, Miguna had been traveling using Canadian passport number MJ393885 and WK944502, which he renewed in June 2017, just a few weeks to the general election. Now, as I told you at the beginning of the program, Miguna Miguna was among the candidates in the gubernatorial race for Nairobi City County last year. For his name to be on the ballot, he had to be cleared by the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission. Of course, that is IEBC. On the line now, I have the Vice Chairperson of IEBC, that is Connie Maina, to help us understand what circumstances a man who is now deemed not a Kenyan vied for an elective post in Kenya. Connie, good evening. It seems we don't have Connie now, but for now, we're going to link up with her shortly. But for now, let's take a look at what it really means to lose a citizenship in this country. It's almost obvious that if you're born in Kenya, you automatically become a Kenyan by birth. Well, that citizenship can be revoked as provided for in the Constitution of Kenya 2010. So let me go through that and step by step. Article 17, subsection 2 of the Constitution states that the citizenship of a person who is presumed to be a citizen by birth, as contemplated in Article 14, subsection 4, may be revoked if A, the citizenship was acquired by fraud, false representation, or concealment of any material fact by any person. Over to subsection B, which says that the citizenship of a person who was presumed to be a citizen by birth, as contemplated in Article 14, subsection 4, may be revoked if the nationality or parentage of the person becomes known and reveals that the person was a citizen of another country. Over to still on Article 17, subsection 2, it says that the citizenship of a person who was presumed to be a citizen by birth, as contemplated in Article 14, subsection 4, may be revoked if the age of the person becomes known and reveals that the person was older than 8 years when found in Kenya. Of course, we have an international lawyer in studio. I'm going to engage him shortly, and he's going to break down that for us shortly. But for now, as we prepare to link up with our lead reporter, Sophia Wanuna, who's on standby now. Now, as Miguna was airborne on his way to Canada, his lawyers, led by Siaya Senator, that is James Orengo, were pushing for government agencies to be compelled to explain the hurried deportation. I'm now joined live by our lead reporter, Sophia Wanuna, from the city centre with the details from the High Court. Sophia, good evening. And we've seen so many orders coming out of the High Court, with regards to this judge in question, that is Luka Kimaru. This time round, I understand he has some more orders, right?
Good evening, Yusuf. Yes, the judge has some more orders. Today, lawyers for Miguna Miguna, of course, bringing to the attention of the judge that, in fact, their client had been ejected from the country, and this against the orders that he was to be presented. Remember, this coming after the DCI, that's the Director of Criminal Investigations, as well as the Inspector General of Police, been found in contempt of court for not appearing physically and alongside the suspect at the time before the High Court. And so today the new developments is that, according to the state, the lawyers for the DCI and IG, they argued that, in fact, they did not in any way disregard the orders of the court, that, in fact, what happened is when the matters were seized from being in their hands, in that they moved to the Department of Immigration, then it was not upon them to obey or ensure orders that have since moved away from their custody are obeyed. So as far as counsel representing the Inspector General of Police and the Directorate of Criminal Investigations, they played their part. And so the High Court judge ordering that each of these three parties, because even for the immigration, the question the judge asked is how was it that they took custody of Miguna Miguna at a time he was supposed to be presented in court? And it was a matter that had seen a lot of back and forth on. So each of the three parties has been asked to write and submit, file an affidavit explaining just how the events unfolded according to where they stand. But also further, the High Court judge has ordered that the Inspector General of Police and the DCI personally present themselves to court next week, Wednesday, failure to which there will be consequences. And one of the things we heard from counsel for Miguna Miguna, especially Cliff Ombeta, sensationally asking and requesting the judge to take this as a brazen attack on the judiciary, in the sense that he needs to send a very strong message that they are seeing the kind of contempt the court orders are being treated with. So he, in a light, what was seen as a light moment with very many laughing in court, he asked the judge to bite, and to bite hard, so that individuals like this, senior officials in government, do not think that such orders are to be taken lightly. So those are the developments we witnessed earlier in court today. We wait to see if this time around, in fact, they will be adhered to. The other thing is Miguna Miguna, other than that interview he did with BBC, also released a statement and did indicate he will pursue these matters despite his having been ejected from the country. So we wait to see how all of these matters will be playing out in coming days. And as I hand it back to you, Yusuf, let's listen to some of those submissions in court earlier.
Yes, nobody can be the state. The people of Kenya are the state, and all powers are delegated to various institutions of government. We can easily get there if the courts do not come in firmly and deal with public officers. So, my Lord, again, let the Inspector General appear before you. Let the Director of Criminal Investigation appear before you. And give full account why they took their action, delivering somebody who was a ward of the court. Mr. Miguna, to our odds, was a ward of the court from Kajiado, and he should have been treated in the manner the court has.
The court said, and even when the ruling was delivered and paid, the court said that either way Mr. Miguna should be released, not necessarily brought before this court. That's what I got the ruling to mean.
Contempt of the orders of this court and a deliberate attempt by state agencies to subvert the rule of law in this country. Court orders, once issued, must be obeyed. For the court to make an appropriate determination on what course of action to take, it hereby directs the second and third respondents in person to swear affidavits in regard to the circumstances under which the applicant was released from their custody to the Directorate of Immigration during the subsistence of a valid court order requiring them to produce the applicant before this court so that he can be dealt with in accordance with the law. The Director of Immigration, Major General Gordon Kihalangwa, must swear an affidavit to indicate under what circumstances he assumed custody of the applicant when he knew that he was under the custody of the court awaiting his release. The affidavits must be filed and served by Friday, the 9th February 2018.
Of course, that is the judge at the center of attention this time round. He has issued fresh orders. Apparently, had earlier summoned the Inspector General, the DCI boss, George Kinoti. He issued an order that Miguna be produced in court previously, but all these orders were not heeded. Now, joining me in studio is an individual who has seen it all as far as, excesses of a state is concerned, and that is a former Member of Parliament of Subukia, Koigi Wamwere. Mr. Koigi, good evening. And if I'm not wrong, this is a script or a story that seems so familiar to you, right?
That's correct. I was charged with treason and other capital offense charges for many times. And we suffered all that had to be suffered on account of being charged with such a capital offenses. But the most important thing is that often we are not charged with treason because you have committed treason, but because the state is interested in removing you from political circulation. And that's why each time we became too vocal, a treason charge would be fabricated, and one would end up being taken to court and charged with the treason. Mm-hmm. And they would keep you there until it was politically safe for you to be released, and then you would be released. Mm-hmm. The only other offense I would compare with treason was detention, which operated on the same basis, that when you threatened the state, they would pick you and would take you to prison without taking you to court for trial. And they would keep you there for years on end until they were satisfied that it was safe to let you back into society. Mm-hmm. So treason is a political charge. It is preferred for political reasons. And that is why it is dangerous for the entire society.
Yes. Now, clearly, you have a lot to tell as far as your personal story is concerned. Now, let me bring you back to a big story tonight, which has everything to do with Miguna Miguna. And this is what he said earlier in a BBC interview. He said that I've never, ever renounced my Kenyan citizenship and will never do that. I've never even contemplated it. So, from your own personal point of view, do you think the state was right to do whatever they did last night?
No, because nobody should be deprived of his citizenship. And the fact is that Miguna Miguna is a Kenyan citizen by right. Mm-hmm. By his, you cannot take away from him his citizenship because it is by birth. If he was a naturalized citizen, maybe that may be different. But when you are born a Kenyan, that cannot be taken away from you. But the state can go ahead and exile you if that is what they want. But they should not do that under the guise of taking away your citizenship, mm-hmm. because that is not takeable away. Mm-hmm. But if they want to put you into exile, Africa has a long story of political dissidents being taken to exile, starting with Kabaka Mutesa way back in 1953. This was a Ugandan Kabaka who was taken to London, into exile in London, simply because the governor, Cohen, did not like his politics. Other people who have been taken to exile, you know very well from the Bible. Jesus was himself exiled. I was myself exiled. We have had many times President Trump, there was a time when he was threatening that if he became president, he would exile Obama into Africa and so forth. So Miguna's case is like these other cases that have happened for political reasons and which should not be allowed to be. This is why he fought so hard, so that we can live in a country where we are able to enjoy our rights without violation from the state or anybody else.
Now, understand we have Professor Duncan Ojwang, who is an international law expert. Good evening, Prof. And from all this development that we have witnessed for the last, 24 hours, we've seen, the court issuing, orders left, right, and center. The court has ordered the Inspector General to appear before the DCI boss as well. That never happened. The court also ordered the Miguna be produced in court then. That also did not happen. What does this say with regards to the respect of law?
Yeah, it is, as the judge said, that court orders must be obeyed. And the argument by the state is that, yes, we indeed released him, and your order was not specific enough to tell us he must be released in Kenya. And notice that the charges was procured by the state, and so the orders were either bring the body or the person of Miguna to the court, or if you don't want to do that, then you need to release him. And the argument was the judge's order simply said he should be released. It didn't go to say where. And therefore, it will be very narrow reading to say that he must have been, that the release should have happened in Kenya. So the state is saying, well, he is released because that's all you said. You didn't say he should be released in Kenya. At least that's the argument.